Hello, I'm Stephen Oram, and this is our sixth episode of our Data, Our Future. Welcome. And today we're going to be talking about data and the future of work. So, Robin, over to you.
Hi, I'm Robin Ryback, and I think work is on all of our minds because we spend a lot of time doing it. I think it would be really interesting to have a little bit of a timeline because we don't exist in a vacuum. We take things from the past. So, thinking back all the way to the beginning of time, first we had the first humans were wanderers. We their way of working was to wander Pangaea, which is now our continents, and they would go back and forth hunting and looking for berries and all that. And that was a full-time job. They just needed to exist. And after that came the agrarian society. People, the wanderers got tired of wandering, and they finally realized that we can gather in one place, take a load off for a few minutes, and become a rural farming agrarian society. And that meant also subsistence, but it was a full-time job. They were existing. Now, fast forward many, many years, and we have the Industrial Revolution. The farmers were now going into the city and they were going into factories. And here's where we start getting a little bit of the seeds of what we still see today. The productivity, work, work, work. And we've heard the expression cogs in a wheel, which I think some of us still feel like we are today. And we put a premium on how much we could work. And then let's now fast forward a little bit further to where we are today, which I'm going to call the first wave of technology. And that is where the technological revolution, and that's where machines have taken over. And I'm going to put that in the past because I think we're switching now. And Stephen, you may agree with me that we're switching from a first wave of technology to a second wave. The first wave we've all seen, which is machines have taken over, and a lot of the AI that we talk about now wasn't there, and so some of the things that we used to do have been taken over by machinery.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think I was thinking about this, and actually, I guess the early signs of this were the labor-saving devices, probably back, I don't know when that was, 30s, 40s, post Second World War, or whatever. And I think it's almost like a continuation of that in terms of saving labor. It's just now it's kind of saving labor. The potential is to save labor, as in the not want any labor, not need any labor. And that whole, I think you mentioned the kind of backlash of people not wanting a fully automated society. You were talking about in New York, people pushing back against the self-checkout things.
Right, right. There are a couple of examples, but one that is really sort of glaring is over the past few years, now we have a society where we have checkouts, automatic checkouts. We don't need the cashiers. And for a variety of reasons, people have started to rebel against that, especially in the big box stores. We have Walmart, we have Costco.
Right.
People don't want that as much. First of all, the machines don't work as well as they should, and it's not efficient. And second of all, I think there's a real need to connect with people, and that's something that was not foreseen when when they decided to put all the machines in, and what a great idea that was going to be. And it turns out, I think we're starting to see a backlash there, and in other aspects of our life where it's machine only. We're taking a
Yeah.
step back.
I mean, I think that point about human contact and that sort of human interaction or whatever is really is kind of key to this, I think, in that so if machines increase productivity, it seems to me there's two ways you can go with that. You either use that to get more and more out of your human workers, and increase your profit,
Mm.
or you take the increase in productivity and people can have more leisure time and can actually have that human contact and that human interaction in a different way. So I think, and it feels like we're possibly at that moment in time where this is something we really need to think hard about. Um, there's a book by David Graeber called Bullshit Jobs. I don't know if people have read
Mm.
it. Basically, one of the strands of it is how much of the work we do is completely and utterly unnecessary, but we need people to be in jobs to earn money, to pay their taxes, to the whole system is set up in a particular way. And the more you automate that, the more efficient you make that. As I say, you've got a choice. You either make it efficient and don't have to put lots of effort, human effort in, or you just make more and more profit out of it. So I think there's something interesting in that pivot. What of this moment? I don't know. Does that make sense to you?
It does make sense. And what's really interesting is that we as a society really haven't thought about that much. And that's, I think, the second wave is really where we need to go, with this kind of thinking. Instead of, going to what's wrong with AI and what's wrong with what we've all built. We've all built this. So let's use it for some good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that, we talk about, you were talking about time saving, and that makes me think about time as a commodity. I'll give you an analogy, which is when we're younger, we have all the time in the world. Time is not our commodity. Money is our commodity. We have, probably other things that we think about, but a lot of people, it's, storing, making of the money, and maybe travel, which is time, and a few other things. But my point is, as you get older, time is more valuable, and time is your commodity. And I'm hoping that society will mature as well, meaning that not just individuals, but there will be an epiphany that, you know what, we're far enough in society where we can start realizing that money isn't the be all and end all, and that we want to value our time. And for people who think, well, how is that ever going to happen? That's a seismic shift. If you go back and you think about where we were in the Industrial Revolution, child labor laws, children were working from the age of 5 in factories, unthinkable now. People were working 7 days a week, unthinkable now. But people came in, they said, we don't want this anymore. They set up labor unions, and things changed. So I'm hoping that we'll have another change, in our children's, our grandchildren's
Yeah,
uh,
absolutely. And
era.
I think the point you're making there about a deliberate change and people kind of standing up and saying, actually, it could be like this, and that could be this is a positive moment. We can kind of see how things might change. I was reading a report which I'll drop into the comments, whatever, as kind of a looking back report. So it's a sort of fake report from the future, but that's talking about how where wealth is being generated from capital and compute, they call it. So basically the kind of automation rather than people's labor, and working out ways of uh, taxing that basically, so that so you've got money coming in not just when somebody earns some or spends some. It's also about the whole kind of production stuff. So, but it feels to me that, so the positive I think is that we got the wherewithal to do this. We just need to kind of, as a society, grab it by the hands and walk into this wonderful future where we can truly reduce the amount of time we have to spend working, which is, I don't know. I think it's a really good thing. There's lots of other things to do in one's life than work.
That's true. And I think this is a really good place to end on the positivity and where our workforce and where we can be, in the near future if we have the wherewithal. And Stephen, I know that you have a few short stories that deal with this exact same subject.
Yeah, there's a couple of recent ones. Just to give them a quick mention. One's called Fake, which was part of a project that I did with the UK Ministry of Defence. And one of the aspects of that story is around the kind of cat and mouse between those that are automating and making stuff in a kind of automated way, and those that are trying to get some tax out of that so that people would the general society can live okay. So that's Fake. Uh, and then there's another one called Let Them Be, which it's kind of let's get to a point where we trust the automation and the things that are running our cities and all the rest of it, so that we can actually genuinely step away and have some leisure time, rather than feeling the need to be sitting at desks watching over the machines that we've made to kind of automate stuff, because that just seems a bit silly. But that's the human in the loop idea. It's like we still have to watch
Right,
things. So, but yeah,
right,
those are the two stories.
right. And we'll drop them. We'll drop the links the in our podcast below. And Stephen's a really great writer, so you'll want to read them.
Well, thank you very
All right, so that concludes our data, our future for today, and we look forward to the next one. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you.